Warren Buffett comes to you, he's 93 years old, and he says, Phoebe, I'll give you all of my assets and my money and my wealth if we can swap ages. Would you take the deal?
Ooh.
So you got to be 93, but you can be the wealthiest person.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
Yeah. And then he would do it. He would give up all of his wealth, assets, everything to be your age again. He would do it like that. So what does that tell you about time? What it tells you is that time is infinitely more valuable than any money in the world, right? And so if that's true, then how can you even put like a $5,000 an hour price tag on an hour of your time? Because it doesn't compensate anywhere near enough. So there's nothing that you can do that is worth doing for money. So what does that mean? Well, that means then you should be spending your time on your highest purpose, because that's the only thing that comes close. You excel in like other areas that other people would struggle at, then that means that we should find the areas where we excel and focus on those rather than trying to be good at everything. I think that's a trap, because you have to realize that you are exceptional at some things and you may not be good at other things. But when you realize that, that's when you should lean into doing, I want to do as much of the stuff that I'm exceptional at and the least amount of stuff I'm not exceptional at. And if you're an entrepreneur or business owner, you can get people to do that.
Welcome to the Inspired to Thrive podcast. I'm your host, Phoebe Lay, and in each episode, I will be sharing with you insights from either an inspiring person or myself to help you thrive and shine online and in person. We talk about all things marketing, relationships, money, business, growth, mindset, and more. So thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you inspired to thrive. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Inspired to Thrive and Shine podcast. Today's guest is Benjamin Simkin, Australia's most influential marketing strategist and the driving force behind over $2 billion in client revenue. Benjamin Simkin is a marketing genius, a systems thinker, and the secret weapon behind some of the world's most successful business transformations. For 2 decades, Ben has mastered exponential business scaling, partnering exclusively with ambitious, growth-oriented entrepreneurs and brands, ranging from boutique companies to multinationals. And he has collaborated with legends like Jay Abraham, Siimon Reynolds, and ran Kerwin Rae's marketing behind the scenes for nearly a decade. As founder of BusinessNET and creator of the Mastermind, Australia's premier business growth community, Ben doesn't just teach theory. Each system he shares is battle-tested and proven in the real world. And what makes Ben truly remarkable is how his neurodivergent mind processes patterns other people miss. His autism gives him an extraordinary ability to see systems, connections, and marketing opportunities with laser precision, turning what some people might view as challenge into one of his greatest competitive advantages. Ben, welcome to the show. It's so good to have you.
Thank you, Phoebe. It's an absolute honor to be here with you.
It's an absolute honor to be part of your mastermind. I think one of the best things that happened to me in the last 12 months is meeting you and the people in our incredible network and just masterminding and growing our businesses alongside. So I want to start by saying thank you for what
It's
you
awesome. It's an absolute honor. Like, again, you're a part of the mastermind, and the amazing people we have in the group is what makes it special. And you're a part of that amazing community, and just the ideas and insights and strategies that you share in there as well. Just absolute fantastic.
Thanks, Ben. I wanted to start firstly by finding out what got you to start the mastermind, because you've achieved incredible success from such a young age and you've helped drive over $2 billion in client revenue. You were a multimillionaire by age 19.
Yeah, around that. Yeah.
And now your focus is on growing other people and helping them scale, which is, I feel like it's so humbling. And I wanted to know, like, what got you to kick that off?
That's a funny story. I started my first company, very young, and I'd run that company for 10 years. I actually didn't know anyone who was an entrepreneur or business owner. Everyone from my sort of, childhood network was all employees, workers, and everything like that, which is totally fine. But I just jumped into business, and Because I was very good with computers. Actually, I started programming software when I was 13 and got into a little bit of trouble when I was 16. I got hacked the school computers and I kicked out for that. And then I went on to work for some quite big companies in the tech space. But I jumped into starting my own company, and I'm like, I'm really good with computers and everything. Like, I'm going to run my own business. But I didn't really think what that really involved. Like, what? I didn't know anything about how to run a business, and I didn't know anyone who did. And so jumping into that, I realized pretty quickly that, I'd rented an office and I got staff and everything. Like I jumped all in on it. And then I realized, oh, actually, I don't know anything about this. And so I learned through books, through some specific mentors like Jay Abraham, but mostly books and also trial and error. And I'd done that. And then I was pretty much isolated for 10 years. I was trying to figure it all out and ended up selling that company pretty early on as well. But I kind of got a little bit comfortable, demotivated. And so what I would do was I would fly to the US. I'd go to like a 3-day event or a mastermind or something like this and get really fired up. And I was around really cool people. And I was like, oh, wow, that guy's doing that. I could do that too. Or wow, that guy's doing so much better than me. I could do that. Or I want to do that. And I'd get so fired up and so excited. And I'd come back home, back to Australia. And for the next 3 months, I'd be like, yeah, let's do this. And then eventually that sort of enthusiasm would wane. And I was to go back to like just kind of clogging along, right? And then I'd go and do that again. And that whole experience was me traveling like 14 hours or 24 hours to a mastermind, being absolutely jet lagged out of my mind for those 3 days and then coming back and the cost and the energy and it just wasn't working very well. And it happened the last time that I went over there. I went to the Titans of Direct Response event and the guy running it, Brian Kurtz, I kind of got up and did the hot seat and he was like, man, you need to like either find something back in Australia. Like you either need to go back to Australia and find a community to be a part of. You can't do this on your own. Or if you can't find one, you should create one. And I came back and I'm like looking around. There's nothing really, they got these little, BNI groups, which is totally fine. People like that. And there was these other groups and I couldn't really find my tribe. So with that, I'm like, well, if I can't find one, like he said, I got to create my own. So I started working on creating my own mastermind, which is 2013. We launched in 2014, and it was just all about trying to create a tribe of people that I love to hang out with, that I love to work with, that I want to help. And that was the genesis of the mastermind. And yeah, it's just a tribe that I want to be a part of as a member, not necessarily someone who's just sort of up at the ivory tower, just, being the guru, but being a part of it. And that's really how it happened.
Yeah, I think you're really leading the way with having had firsthand experience. And I guess what's really refreshing about it is when we're in the mastermind, I don't feel like, the coach or the mentor or the leader is high up on this pedestal. You're actually like really humble and accessible. And it feels like we're all peers, even though you have specifically created so much success and for so many people, including Kerwin Rae, and being behind the scenes with his brand and helping them scale as well. So you obviously see things a lot differently to the average person. And I want to dive into that and like really touch on that. Like, I mean, we've already mentioned, and it's, being neurodivergent month or ADHD awareness month, I really wanted to like highlight and bring together people in my community and my network that have brains like mine that thinks a bit differently. And I guess my first question is, when did you realize you were different? Or did you always know there was something special about the way your brain works?
I always knew I was different. Just because, at school, it's kind of like you fit in, but you don't fit in. And it was always kind of like, I always felt like the outsider in school. But I didn't really know what it was. And it was hard because when you're a kid, you feel like you're the outside and you don't know, you think something's wrong with you or you just can't quite figure it out, right? But it wasn't until I guess later on, I'm not sure when, but I kind of started to realize that maybe I was, on the spectrum. And then, when I got the test done and everything, I obviously just confirmed that I was way on the spectrum, and kind of embraced that. And sometimes I think like, oh, I wish I'd known when I was younger, but I actually think it was in my favor that I didn't know until later, until after I achieved so many things. Because I feel like if I had known when I was younger, people's opinions might have been that I was like mentally challenged or something like this. And maybe I wouldn't have actually tried to do a bunch of stuff and achieve the things that I've achieved. So I think it's kind of a blessing that it wasn't sort of a thing until later on. And then when I started to realize that, I'm like, oh, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And I started to think about how do I live? Because it is quite challenging to live in this environment that's set up not for people with neurodivergency. It's set up for like neurotypical people. It's actually quite difficult, as you know. Then started to think about, well, how do I create my own environment? And it's great if you're an entrepreneur because you can create your own environment, how you work, how you want to work, when you want to work, and sort of start to create sort of principles around the things that you will do and the things you won't do.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that people that are neurodivergent have a really special superpower, but it kind of does get dimmed, especially when you're in a system that doesn't really work for neurodivergent people. Like university and high school for me was really challenging, even though I did get really good grades, but I had to work extra hard compared to other
Mhm.
people because it was
Totally.
so hard to focus on slabs of text or anything that, wasn't really giving me enough of that, I guess,
Yeah.
like I was getting somewhere. So
Yeah, I totally get that. There's that famous cartoon where they have like the goldfish and the chimpanzee and the, I don't know, giraffe and all this stuff, and they have all these different animals, and the exam is like, we're gonna judge you based on how well you climb this tree. That's kind of like society is like, we're going to judge all the different types of people by like one standard. And it's like, well, if you're not good at reading slabs of text, which is probably useless anyway, it's like you excel in like other areas that other people would struggle at. Then that means that we should find the areas where we excel and
Mm.
focus on those rather than trying to be good at everything. I think that's a trap because you have to realize that you are exceptional at some things and you may not be good at other things, but when you realize that, that's when you should lean into doing, I want to do as much of the stuff that I'm exceptional at and the least amount of stuff I'm not exceptional at. And if you're an entrepreneur or business owner, you can get people to do that. And I realized that maybe a decade or more ago of like, hey, I'm just going to hire people who are really good at the other things, and I'm going to focus on the things that I'm good at. And that's how I kind of figured out part of the success that I've got.
Yeah, so good, definitely. And I definitely think that finding people that have those capabilities is so liberating. Like, I'm sometimes just delegating more than I'm doing anything else on a typical business day. I'm like, idea, delegate, idea, instruct, or delegate. Yeah. And I really admire people that can actually like take an idea and like take it right through to the end because, I personally kind of struggle with that. But talking about focus and maintaining focus, like focus seems to be one of your superpowers. I've overheard you talk about being, tunnel visioned on something and like just having a super deep level of focus, which I find really, really interesting. And I wanted to talk about that because
Yeah.
I want to know, like, how do you maintain and harness that deep level of focus without burning out, getting bored, getting distracted?
Well, one of the things that I was thinking about a while ago was how this plays in. I was thinking about this in two different kind of concepts, was in relationships, but also in life and in business, is that your strengths are also your weaknesses. So like whatever you're good at is also presents a weakness in another part of your life. You can't have a strength without a weakness. And so, for example, I have monotropism, it's called. It's basically kind of like this intense focus. So if I get into a project or I'm studying something, I will just go all in. I will know everything about that and I will just completely focus in on that and be obsessed on that thing or project or whatever. And then the other side of the coin is like having the compulsion to complete projects, so that on the autistic spectrum, if you start a project, this like force that makes you need to finish it.
Mm.
And so I have those, but they can also be weaknesses. Like I can get something done. Like I just wrote a piece of software while I was unwell last week because I couldn't concentrate on other things. But I just like, oh, I'll write this. Somebody said I should write this piece of software. So I did it. I did it in like a week and completed it and got it done. So that's cool, right? On the other side of the coin is like having that intense focus means it's easily to neglect other things maybe you should be doing in the business, or also neglect your personal, like self-care, for example, like not taking rest and recovery, or, it can present itself in all different ways. So you have to be, I've been able to manage that to be very mindful and put in systems in place in my life to make sure that doesn't happen. But previously in my younger years, I definitely wasn't aware of that. And I definitely did neglect specific areas that I've now come to realize that I am aware of these things underneath, and I have the systems and I have the structure of making sure that I don't fall into the trap of those areas.
What are some systems that you've put together that has now become a routine, or you don't even think about it? It's just there and it helps you manage.
I like that. I think there's two things that I do, which sounds so autistic, but I'll just tell you anyway. The first one is like mental hacks. It's hard to explain what that even means. It's like I figured out you can play tricks on your own mind for positive things. I'm trying to think of an example. But the other thing that I do is actually show you is I have like these rules of like how to live.
Can you show us what they are, or read some of them to us?
So some of the rules on this is to put myself into situations where ingenuity takes over. So what that means is the situations where I excel are marketing, business growth, and technology. So if putting myself into those situations means I'm not putting myself in situations where I don't excel. And then number 8, it probably needs some explanation, but my rule number 8 on this list is my way of life. What that doesn't really mean like I'm selfish or like I'm arrogant. It means like I need to live my life the way that is best for me. I don't want to meet friends at a bar because that's too noisy for me. I don't really like to drink that much. It's not a very good environment for me, for example. So like,
Do you find it overstimulating?
yeah, totally. So I'll meet you for a coffee. So like my rule is my way of life. If somebody picked this up and read it, it's like, oh, that sounds weird. But it means just basically living the life that is right for me. And then I have like I have all these different ones, focus on technology, don't answer your phone, check it later, stuff like this.
What about when you're like focusing on creating software? Have you ever had to like set alarms to like get you to just, do like a 20-minute reminder to breathe, look out the window, or sip some water? Or is that now something that you're very conscious of?
Well, I mean, you could do that. I think for me at work, it's like going back to my way of life. Is just like if I'm gonna do it, I'll just go into it and I'll do the sprint. So it's like I will spend that week doing that piece of software and then I'll make sure that I don't do that. So like, okay, today's Monday, for example, I'm not gonna look at that anymore. I'm gonna go do the other thing. So it's kind of like me setting like hard rules of like, okay, I've got to stop that and I've got to go to the next thing now.
Amazing. I love that. It's great to have self-awareness, especially when you know that you can end up in an attention tunnel. Like having some strategies in place so that you come out of that and regain balance is obviously really important for us to thrive in life and to have good, healthy balance.
Yeah, but I think that I should do it because I've my zone of genius or technology and marketing business growth. So like if I focus all my time on those items, then I can do good and I can help people. Because that's at the end of the day, like everything that I want to do, like I could do any kind of project, but my project has to have a rule that it has to help other people. So I will only do those types of projects where I'm actually helping others.
I love that purpose. That's really heart-centered. I think that's what makes someone like yourself really human as well. I'd love to know, what are some misunderstandings people have had about autism?
Oh yeah, there's so many. I mean, I've read some and I've heard some from other people. Like, I think one of them's like autistic people don't have empathy. I don't know where that come from. Like, I don't. That's a weird idea, but I think it probably come from like somebody observing the actions or behavior of that person and kind of like assuming what's going on. And that comes from cognitive bias called fundamental attribution error, which means we will attribute characteristics to a person based on observation that we wouldn't characterize to ourselves, which basically means, like, say, for example, fundamental attribution error is basically, let's say you're driving along and you see someone, I don't know, speeding, right? Or, they're going, oh, that person's driving crazy. Like they're going 80 Ks in the 60 zone, right? You're like, oh, that person, they're reckless, right? But then if you'll find yourself in a position where you're driving 20 Ks over the limit, hopefully not very often, but then you'll say, well, I'm doing it because I'm late from my appointment or because I need to get to the doctor, or like you have the reason why you're doing it is like so justified and reasonable, but we don't allow that sort of grace to other people. It's just human psychology, right? So I think it's probably come from people observing autistic people and like, they probably don't have empathy, but it's actually untrue. And in fact, most autistic people have a lot more empathy than standard neurotypical person, which is very interesting. And sort of have this what's called pan-determinism, which basically means like being able to really put themselves in the shoes of the other person and really understanding it from their point of view. From me, that's definitely a skill. And I think it helps with marketing, because if I'm creating marketing, I'll actually put myself in the shoes of the customer, like actually, which
Yeah.
requires a fair bit of empathy. So I think that's definitely one of the misconceptions for most autistic people, if not all autistic people that do have empathy. Maybe it's just processed differently.
Yeah, and I think autistic people might show up a little bit differently and then people assume. Yeah, I think that's ridiculous because I've never thought that. But I'd love to know in terms of intuition and creativity. Do you find that you've got extra intuition or more or less creativity?
Like there's different levels of creativity, different types. I think my creativity comes from kind of being able to instantly recognize patterns, maybe even subconsciously be able to do that as well as consciously, being able to see things differently, being able to see the end from the beginning, being able to see like 5, 10 steps ahead straight away. Like anything that I'm doing, I'm always seeing it from like 10 steps ahead, if not more. So seeing like, okay, well, and then it's like when I'm working with like business owners or companies that I've invested in, and I'll say to the owner, like, "Hey, like, you have to fix this, thing over here, because if you don't fix this thing, the other thing's gonna happen in the future." And a lot of the time it gets dismissed because they're like, they don't do it. And then the bad thing happens or whatever. And I'm like, why didn't you do the thing I told you to do like 6 months ago when I brought it up? Because I knew that was gonna happen. It's like some sort of insight. I'm not 100% sure where it comes from, but it's probably pattern recognition, having the photographic memory, having the consilience of like being able to take a concept from like one area and bring it into another area very easily, things like that.
It's probably also intuition, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Well, what is intuition? I guess intuition probably comes from like pattern recognition, really.
Yeah, I guess it's like to me, it's like trusting that gut feeling. It's like that inner voice. And usually it's always right. Like, for example, my first thought when I first meet someone within the first like 60 seconds is usually correct. It's usually like how it ends. For
Uh-huh.
example, someone might sit down across from me, and within 30 seconds or 60 seconds, I'm like, I don't think he's comfortable with me. I don't think he's completely comfortable being himself around me. And then maybe 2 weeks later, the guy's like, "Oh, sorry, like, it doesn't work." And I'm like, "Yeah, I
Yeah,
was
you kind of knew that before.
kinda." Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm the same with sales, like sales calls and even meeting someone networking. I'm like, "I don't think they're gonna be the right fit for me." And if I
Yeah.
don't listen to that intuition, I end up spending time on a call with them and it's like, "Yeah, that didn't go through," and my gut feeling was right. So, I don't know, I think intuition's bit more than just pattern recognition. It's like they say you've got brain cells in your brain, your heart and your gut.
Yeah.
The ones in your gut are like the most accurate and they fire the fastest.
That's what they say. Yeah. There's more things going on in your gut and your heart than your brain, which is traditionally people think it's all in the brain. But there's a lot. I mean, you have such a complicated body system of like so many things going on that I feel like humans don't really know everything that's going on.
I think it takes a while for the brain to catch up. In fact, I was actually talking to my Pilates instructor about it today. I was like, when you explain things to me, it goes completely over my head because I'm starting to think. Same with dancing. But the moment I just see it or I just allow my head to switch off, my body just naturally just does it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I didn't even.
I think it's such a good awareness that that's how finding out how you operate at your peak levels, and because everyone's different, right? And I could be different to the next autistic person, for example, is like just observing like how you do things well and what areas do you do well and what areas you're comfortable in and what areas maybe you're not so good at. But being aware of like all of this stuff and then designing your life around it. I think that's super important. I don't think you should live by other people's expectations because then you end up struggling. And when I'm talking about living the way that you should live, it's more about understanding where your strengths and weaknesses are and where you should be rather than sort of a moral argument.
Yeah, definitely. I think so many people are so defined by what other people label as like this is what's right. And this is like the word should is now something I try to completely remove from my language because we should on ourselves way too much.
Totally. Yeah, and even people's idea of like what success looks like. They go on Instagram and they look at the reels of like all these successful people and they think like that's how my life should look like. Well, actually your life should look like the way that you want it to look like. So whatever success is for you is different to the next person.
Absolutely. Totally agree. So moving to marketing world, one of my favorite topics is marketing. One of our big pillars in our mastermind is marketing.
Yes.
And you have a really good way of seeing the details that other people miss. How have you been able to help high profile individuals? Kerwin Rae would be a great example, and Jay Abraham. Like, how have you been able to help them given the way you do things differently to them?
Well, I think Jay Abraham is successful in his own right, and I was just fortunate enough to work on some projects with him. I think it was really cool, and he was, my hero since I was a kid. So, well, since I was 20 odd, for me, that's a kid now. I was able to get in, and luckily enough, he was impressed when he met me and allowed me to work on some projects together, which was so cool. But like other people that have come to me, I just think like they don't see or they don't know what exactly to do. And I think I can see exactly what it is that they want to do. So they come to me with, it starts with a goal. It's like, what is it you want to do? Because everyone has different goals. It's whether it's like Kerwin Rae, he wanted to fill these events. He wasn't able to fill these events, he's famous for these massive events. He wasn't able to fill those. And when he came to me, I'm like, yeah, it's fine. Like I know exactly what I have to do here. And we put the marketing campaign together. We started actually funny stories when we first started. Oh, we didn't have a conversation around like the venue capacity. And I kind of didn't think about it and we launched the first campaign and he's like the first couple of events we did for him, he rented rooms that were too small and so many people would turn up and that he ended up having like people sitting in the lobby of the hotels and we're like, oh yeah, that's a problem. So we learned from that pretty quickly after that. It's like, oh yeah, we need to get bigger rooms because we're getting way more people than he even envisaged that he would get. So we did that. But I think people kind of, yeah, I think people kind of don't know what it is that they need to do to get the result. But it's pretty obvious after working 2 decades in this space, like exactly what needs to be done or if it can be done or how it can be done.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. That's awesome. I'm so glad that you got to meet Kerwin Rae and like work so closely with him. Like that would have been a highlight, I'm guessing, for your career.
Yeah, like the highlight for me is like being able to like work with someone and get massive results. Like that's kind of cool. I like that. That's probably the best part of doing it, to be honest, out of anything else is like, yeah, we can like take this to the next level and we can do this and we can do that. I love to do that. It's really a lot of fun. A lot of the times, speaking of like going back to the mastermind or working with people, is like people ask for advice and usually it's hard to get across that it's these like little details that make all the difference. It's only like we take a marketing campaign, we make this like this tiny things that you actually get the result. And it's so hard to like get that across sometimes. And people are like, well, why would that be important? Why would saying this on a sales call be important? Why would changing that on the landing page be so important? And it's like, and they kind of like a lot of the times people disregard, like kind of like focus on what they think is important. And we're like, no, you just got to change this part here. And so getting them to actually do it is part of the challenge.
It's amazing when they trust you though. Like I feel so free when I know my client is like, you're the expert. I'm just going to trust your call on that. Have you found that the more business owners just kind of trust the process or let go, the easier it is for them to get results, conversions, or leads?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think that's important. And I kind of embody that as well. Even though, like, you could say, oh, he knows a lot about technology or a lot about marketing or whatever, or business, I will always just be asking so many people for their ideas, what they think about something. I'm like, I might create a marketing campaign and I'm like, hey man, like, what do you think about this? Or I'll ask people outside of the space as well. So like, I won't just ask a programmer about a programming question. I might be like, hey, what do you think about this software idea? Or what do you think about this marketing idea or whatever? Like, I'll ask normal people. Well, normal people is like outside of the industry.
Yeah.
And it's like there's no one person I wouldn't listen to, whether it's like an Uber driver or a cleaner or like just some person in my life that's not involved, because I think it's so important. Like my biggest fear, I think I only have one fear in life, and that's blind spots. Like I fear having blind spots where it's like, it's not the things that I don't know, it's the things that I don't know that I don't know. That's the only thing that I sort of like worry about. So like I'm always trying to scan and try and find those from other people's perspectives. Cause I realized looking back when I was younger is like I had so many blind spots that I didn't even realize I had, that caused me to maybe lose money or not grow as fast or as big as I could have, or I didn't take advantage of an opportunity that I could have. And that's what I feel like is something that I think maybe not just me, but I feel like everyone has blind spots, and you have to be open to listening to other people, not judge them on, well, what would he know? What would she know? But judge it just based on the idea or the merit of the idea itself and kind of get that. I think that's super important.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And like speaking of blind spots and the mastermind, I think that's why being part of a community and a mastermind group like the one that you've created is so important, because we all have our zone of geniuses. We all know something that another person doesn't in the group. But when we share that and collaborate, that's when we start to learn and grow and exceed past that glass ceiling. And I love that you actually ask us a lot of questions. And sometimes I'm like, is Ben learning from me? I'm like, whoa, that's cool. Like, I feel really special and like smart right now.
Yeah, I mean, asking questions is like you have to do it because especially in like in life, but also you have to understand if somebody comes to me for advice, for example, or they have a goal and they're like, hey, I really want to do this thing. Can you help me run the marketing or whatever? I'm like, I'll ask them a million questions because I really want to understand from the inside out, like exactly what it is. Because, like I said, going back, it's the details that matter. And if I've missed a detail, I may give advice that's wrong, or I may not be able to give advice because I'm like, man, I don't really know what the thing is until I get all the details. And I'm like, oh, yeah, it's that. And when I get to that detail, then I know, oh, yeah, this makes total sense. If I don't have total sense, I often won't give any advice at all. That's why I ask a million questions. It may feel like an interrogation, but that's just what I need to do to be the most effective.
Yeah. So, for people that are listening that are wanting to, say, fill an event or get more inquiries, customers, sales calls, and let's say they haven't really run Facebook ads or an ad campaign at all, what would you say are like the five most important ingredients to bake the cake of, a successful business with healthy sales and leads?
Yeah, I don't know if there's 5 or maybe there is.
Or 7 or 10,
Whatever it is.
whatever.
I think it comes back to, like, absolute fundamentals, which is most people start with wanting to sell a product or service. It's like, "I'm really good at doing this," or, "I would love to sell that," and or, "This is what I've been doing. I've been doing this in my career my whole life, and this is what I do." And they kind of like, whatever it is that they're doing, and it's like you have to kinda give that up because you have to start with the audience. Gary Halbert says the best thing to sell is what people are buying. So what does that mean? It means I wanna find out who I wanna serve. Okay, what kind of people do I wanna help, right? And then I figure out, okay, what is it that they want or need? Like, what does that person want or need? And then I create my product, my service, my business around the want and need. So it's like sort of backwards. I don't create the product first. I figure out what the want and need is first. Then I create the product or service around what it is they want. That's number one. And then number 2, I think is it's like the napkin sort of idea of like and make your product, service, or offer like so good that you could sell it if you just wrote it on a napkin and gave it to someone. So like we can create really fancy videos and ads and images, and we can write the best copy in the world, and we can hire the most A-list copywriter to create our amazing landing page. But could we sell it if we just wrote down what it was on the back of a napkin and handed it to the right person? Would they buy it?
So,
Would they buy it? And if they would, then you know you're onto something. If you have to kind of rely on the most, the wordsmithy guy to sell it, it might mean that the offer is not aligned with target market. So if you come up with an offer and you could sell it, just scribbling it on a napkin, you're onto something. Because like anything you do over and above that, if I turn that napkin into an amazing video sales letter or a landing page or email marketing campaign, then I know it's going to convert.
so you're saying the most simple concept, like the most basic fundamental part of that concept needs to be sellable, and then everything else on top is a bonus?
Yeah, it's need to be what people want. Then we can go out, okay, well, we've got the napkin, people bought off that, or we wrote, a Google Doc or a real basic like Facebook post and people were interested. Cool, we got something. Okay, let's now validate that. So then we want to get some people actually giving us money for that. So, okay, cool. One person gave me money. Okay, I got two more people. I got three people who actually wanted to pay for this. That means there's probably another 1,000 or 100,000 people that want this. So then I'm onto something. And then it's like validation. I've got validation that people are willing to pay for the thing that I want to give them. And then everything's up from there.
Yeah, that's basically how I got out of my previous career as a radiographer and
Mm.
started coaching. I got one client who paid me and I quit my job literally within the month. And people were like, "Are you crazy? Like, you've studied 4 years to get your radiation license and your university degree, and you're just going to toss it away?" And I was like, "Yeah, because one person's buying it.
Yeah,
So there's going to be hundreds, if not thousands of others, because I only just
totally.
repeat the system." So,
Yeah. And that's the intuition. You know what? It's interesting you said radiography because I listened to a video the other day. I forget who it was, but they said that radiography is one of the first roles to go away with AI because AI is going to do a way better job looking at the X-rays and so on than any radiographer could. So that's actually really insightful that you kind of jumped ship and took on this career because maybe deep down you knew that that was going to be one of the things that were going to go away.
I definitely knew it wasn't for me. I was more taking the CT scans and the X-rays. The radiologist was the one that's
Sure.
interpreting it. And that's really interesting because radiologists are the highest paying people in Australia, that like more so than surgeons and, doctors and lawyers, etc. So,
Well, if you think
yeah,
about it, the AI is going to have so much data, you can put it in there and it's going to go, oh, yeah, these are the issues. And then they're going to find issues that maybe the radiologist or
can't pick up.
whoever haven't picked up for whatever reason, because they're only human at the end of the day.
There is so much cognitive bias when you're doing a report and reading a scan.
Mm.
That's definitely true.
Yeah. Well, they're going to pick up things that are so small that the human eye maybe can't even see.
Yeah, but I don't think AI would be very comforting if we relied on AI to tell the patient their diagnosis. So,
So we're just going to need someone to deliver the message, maybe.
yeah. I mean, I think the radiologist will probably still be better at doing the biopsies and things like that. But yeah, it's really interesting. And I was talking to someone over the weekend about the fact that we are living in a world where a lot of jobs are going to disappear because of AI. And
Mm.
there are people out there that might starve and be really in a bad place. What are your thoughts on that? And what can people do to kind of safeguard their futures?
A lot of people, and I've spoken to a few people, and they kind of like either ignore or discount AI, like, oh, AI is never going to be able to do my job. Or like, oh, yeah, look, the AI tried to do this job, but it failed or whatever, or didn't do a very good job. But AI is still in development
Yeah.
and you're only expected to get better. So I think ignoring it is not going to make it go away. That's number one. And number two is like, okay, if AI is not going away and it could be a threat to my job or my career, then what do I need to do? Well, I need to learn about it. I need to learn how to use it, how it works, and be able to do that. Because at the end of the day, I don't think that jobs are going away in terms of that jobs will be changing. In any kind of evolution of technology or humanity, it's not that jobs just disappeared completely, it's just that the jobs were changing. So, somebody who's doing some sort of job now will be doing some other kind of role that'll probably require understanding and knowledge of AI itself. So, think of it like in the basic form, somebody's going to need to fix the robot that, the robots we're going to have in our kitchens cooking food for us. Somebody's going to need to know how that works, fix it, install it, program it, whatever. So I don't think that jobs are going to disappear. I think they're just going to shift into different areas.
I think that the more people take on AI, the better they will be. Whether they're a marketer or, I don't know, like a lawyer, I think the people that actually use AI are the ones that will further their skill and just get further and faster ahead than the people that are like, "Oh, I'm traditional.
Mm.
I'm gonna handwrite all my emails." I don't know, like all my letters, I mean. Like, it's definitely a case where AI is here now to enhance what we're doing and make us better. Like, I've had so many people in elevators especially that are like, "Oh, are you threatened by AI, being a marketer or a copywriter?" And I'm like, "No, I don't recommend letting it spit something out and copy and pasting and just posting, but it does reduce a lot of that cognitive load and it makes things faster and more efficient."
Oh, totally. It definitely helps a lot. I think it definitely helps in so many different ways. It's funny. I kind of been thinking about the last week is like, I have all these different computer systems that you can't see here running AI programs and systems like 12. They're all running 12 hours a day, doing all
Wow.
kinds of things. And I'm thinking, I'm not working any less hours. So it's kind of like thinking about we kind of like have this pipe dream that AI is gonna do everything and we can just like work a few hours a day and it's gonna be cool. I mean, I think if that's what you want to do, you could absolutely do that. And I think being intentional about what it is that you actually want is really important first, because just using AI to enhance your productivity is not going to sort of change much in terms of your work. You're working unless you intentionally say, well, I'm going to work 20 hours a week and AI can do the rest. Unless you kind of commit to that, I think you're just going to be working long hours but doing more stuff.
So speaking of I personally already have learned so much from being in the mastermind about AI tools. But for the listeners, what are your favorite AI programs or tools that are available, that not ones that you're developing, but the ones that are available to the public at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's kind of using ChatGPT. Some people are using Claude. There's Grok. There's all these other ones. People are using like Lovable and Bolt and 11 Labs. So there's all these different ones depending on what it is that you want. I kind of think that different ones have different use cases. So there's ones that are great for computer programming. There's ones that are great for like writing copy, strategy, general use. I think you kind of want to get an understanding of like what the use case is for each different type of AI and understand which ones have their strengths and weaknesses. I think that's super important. There's a lot more that are being developed and released all the time as well. So I think it's like just keeping up to date as much as you can on what's good for what.
Yeah, definitely. I think my most recent new one that I'm using now is Perplexity. And at the last mastermind, so not the one in Brizzy, but the one in Noosa,
Uh-huh.
you showed us Claude Sonnet and Claude Opus.
Yeah.
So for me personally, I love using Claude Sonnet for strategy, Claude Opus for copywriting,
Yeah.
Perplexity for just research, like,
Research.
"Hey, where's the best
Yeah.
beach?" Or,
Uh-huh.
"What do you think of this brand of hyaluronic acid compared to others, or this hair product?" And then ChatGPT for, like, everyday general as well as
Yeah, cool.
Gemini. What would be your, like, 3 or 4 that you use the most in a week?
I definitely use Claude the most. I do a lot of programming. It's good for copy as well. I'm actually been using Manus quite a lot lately. Manus is a research tool, but it's kind of different because what it does is it operates a computer. So it's really good for doing things like research that a human might do. For example, you might say, "Hey, I'm going to Sydney in a few weeks' time. Like, can you find me a hotel close to these places with these kind of facilities?" Or use it for shopping, like, "Hey, I wanna find a new couch for my living room. It's gotta be this size, it's gotta be this color, this is my budget." And you'll go in and actually, like a person would, go to all the websites and you can watch it. You can watch the computer, the system being run and, like, you'll go to Google, then it'll find all the different furniture shops, and it's like it's actually really cool. I like to figure out what the kind of limits are of these platforms that are not like they've been designed to do a specific task, but I'm like, "Well, wonder if I could get it to do this other thing as well." I found Manus really, it's a research tool, but I found it creates really good websites.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm like, hey, make me a website for this new product, and it's like it's amazing.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah. And you also showed us one N8N?
N8N, yeah. N8N
Yeah.
is a really cool. It's an automation tool. So you have, you're probably familiar with like Make.com, Zapier.com, and all this kind of stuff. N8N is really cool because it kind of gives you a bit more flexibility around running AI agents. You can automate your entire onboarding system for your client. You can have it check your reports. You can have it send out follow up invoices, and you can plug AI tools directly in. So it can be like, it can think rather than just do with Zapier. It's kind of like, hey, do these things. And it just does the same process. With N8N, it gives you the flexibility to like figure out what we should do if this thing happens. And then it'll automatically figure it out and it'll go and do its thing.
Yeah, it was so amazing, especially when you showed us how it can like go from people sending you resumes in the inbox to like spitting out a report and literally telling you how whether or not that person's a fit. And it's
Yeah.
already come back into your inbox before you've even checked it.
Yeah, it can go through, it can match things like qualifications. So you can put like, "Well, I'm looking for, marketing person. These are the qualifications and experience that we need." And then you can also tell it to find red flags, like job hopping is one. If they're like been at 12 different roles and only stayed there 3 months each, you can find things like that. So it can give you like, hey, I think these are concerns. You can do personality profile based on your writing style, which works if the person who gave you the CV didn't use AI to create the CV. So it's kind of like got some limitations, but you can do stuff like that as well.
Amazing. Well, Ben, thank you so much for all of your insights. I wanted to wrap this up firstly with rapid fire questions. I actually haven't been able to do rapid fire questions on my interviews for a while because a lot of the questions in the interviews go for a long time. But actually, personally, super keen to know these answers.
Uh-huh.
So I'd love to start with just whatever is the first thought that comes into your mind, no right or wrong. All right, let's go. So, first question is what's one thing you can't live a single day without? Whether it's something physical, non physical, what would it be?
Oh, I mean, aside from food and water, I love technology. Always have. It's just something that I love it. So yeah.
Yeah. So, you'd take that with you on a desert island if you were stuck
I would
there.
take my most powerful computer. I'd have the most powerful AI models. I'd be making some software or doing some marketing or doing something like that.
All right, cool. Or figuring out the way out or how to
Exactly.
build a
Yeah.
plane.
Well, it sounds good. Desert island. Maybe I'll stay there.
Mm, but no water, limited time, limited water.
Okay. Well, we'd have to get the water sorted first.
Yeah. Okay, cool. What or who inspires you to do what you do today?
That's a difficult question. Yeah, I'm not sure if there's a who. I think, okay, what inspires me? I feel like the most important thing is live towards your purpose, like live on your purpose, whatever that is. So you have a basic purpose while you're here, and making sure that what you're doing is aligned with the basic purpose. I think that is for me probably the fundamental number one thing that kind of inspires me to do what I do, which is essentially I kind of think the basic purpose is you're put it here with specific sort of attributes that you are supposed to use to help people. So the way that I help people is going to be different from the way you help people. But if we use that to our best abilities, I think that's what inspires me, and I think that's why we're here.
Yeah, I love that. I think not a lot of people know what their purpose is. I've met so many people that have no idea. So that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, maybe for a long time, maybe I didn't know what mine was, but it can come to you. So yeah, maybe
Yeah.
if you don't have one right now, you sort of do what you're doing, and I think lean into your interests, lean into the things that light you up, and eventually I think you'll realize, oh, you know what, this is my basic purpose. I like the question to ask yourself, like, what would I do? Let's say you phrase it like this, like, what would you do if you won $50 million today with the lottery, right? What would you do tomorrow? What would you change? What would you do the same? And then if you think about like, I would change this, or I would do, these are the things I'd still do. Like, the question for me is like, what would I do if I won the lottery? I would just do the exact same things. There's nothing I would really change at all. I wouldn't really buy anything. I wouldn't do anything differently. I would still run the mastermind. I'd still play around with technology. There's like nothing that I would change.
You'd probably invest. I think, well, for me, I know that if $1 million landed in my bank account, I'd invest.
Yeah, but if you have the question, you're like, "I would quit my job, or I'd shut down my business, or I'd get
Mm.
rid of these 7 clients," or whatever the answer comes, it's like, well, that's probably a sign that maybe you should do that anyway.
Yes. Yeah, well said. Rather than putting up with long hours or things that aren't lighting you up, that aren't like
Yeah,
you
things that are
fulfilled.
dimming your light. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
dimming
should
your
not
light.
do those things. Even if you need the money, you should not do those things because you can do more of the things that do light you up and you can make money from this.
I think people don't realize they can make money from anything and they don't have to fall into a system of like, this is the money making career or job or activity if it doesn't light them up. If it lights them up, sure,
Yeah.
that's cool. But that's what I think. Anyway, it's not about what I think. I want to know, where do you see yourself in 5 years? What do you want to have accomplished, or where do you want to be?
Yeah. I mean, for me, just staying on the same path of doing what I'm doing with, like I said, online with my basic purpose. The mastermind is super important to me. It's close to my heart. So I want to keep doing that and I want to see where that goes. I want to keep improving that development, growing it, just hanging out with great people and just seeing what happens. Just keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, I love that. What's one big takeaway that you've had recently that has changed the way you show up or changed the way you see the world, Ben?
That's a really deep question. I don't know if we have time for that. I've been really thinking about time. I've been really thinking about what it really means. And to kind of give it to you in a nutshell is a lot of the times business owners and productivity people will be like, time is money, your time is valuable, you should only be doing high value tasks and projects. Like if you shouldn't be doing like $10 jobs of like looking at your email, you should be on sales calls or doing marketing or whatever it is that you should be doing, the $5,000 an hour jobs. But I kind of had this insight in the last week or two that time is so valuable that even those high value items does not compensate you anywhere near that it should, because you can't put any amount of money on time. So example is like Warren Buffett comes to you, he's 93 years old, and he says, "Phoebe, I'll give you all of my assets and my money and my wealth if we can swap ages. Would you take the deal?"
Ooh.
So you got to be 93, but you can be the wealthiest person.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
Yeah, and then he would do it. He would give up all of his wealth, assets, everything to be your age again. He would do it like that. So what does that tell you about time? What it tells you is that time is infinitely more valuable than any money in the world. Right? And so if that's true, then how can you even put like a $5,000 an hour price tag on an hour of your time? Because it doesn't compensate anywhere near enough. So there's nothing that you can do that is worth doing for money. So what does that mean? Well, that means then you should be spending your time on your highest purpose, because that's the only thing that comes close.
So well said. I love it. That is definitely the highlight, and I couldn't agree more. I think that we need to value our time so much more than we do, and it's such a precious asset. We can always make more money. There's always going to be more money in the world, and of course, opportunity, but wasting time, I feel like, is much more painful than losing your wallet or investing in the wrong thing.
Mm.
'Cause at least if you invested in the wrong thing, it's feedback and it's a learning. So it's like, okay, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to like buy NFTs anymore
Uh-huh.
and
Yeah.
pretty monkeys. I'm going to now like invest in stocks or other shares, but like
Yeah.
wasting your time and devaluing yourself and not spending your time wisely it's something that you'll look back on and go, man, damn, like I could have done that and that. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, doing the things, spending time on the things that light you up, that are aligned with yourself, I think has to be that way. Because anything that you're doing where it's, well, I don't like this client, but I need the money, or I don't like this job, but it pays the bills, then we've kind of not realized how valuable our time cannot be compensated with money. It's impossible. So when we realize that, then we have to go, well, if I can't make enough money from my time, then I won't do anything at all. Well, that doesn't really help either. But if we go, well, what's lighting me up? Like, what am I here for? Then that's how you know that you're spending your time well.
So well said. Thank you. Thank you, Ben. Last question. Promise it's not going to be a long one. or a deep one, I think. But if you could leave the world with one message, what would it be?
Oh,
That was your last message, like your dying message to the world.
be a good person, be happy, do what you love.
Nice. So good. Simple yet fundamental. So fundamental. Awesome. Thank you so much, Ben. I've really enjoyed having you on the show. It's been such a pleasure.
It's been a lot of fun.
It has. Yeah, for anyone that wants to learn more about the Mastermind, definitely look up Benjamin Simkin. He's, all over social media, and reach out and find out more. And of course, if you have any questions, leave a comment, DM, or just reach out on social media. Ben, once again, thank you. It's been such a pleasure and an honor to have you on the show.
Thank you. It's been great.
So thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you inspired to thrive.